Hey Zoe, I wanted to run through these hands here with you for your drawings. I'm not going to rip through a lot of your drawing here because I think it's coming along really nicely. I like, your the head shapes that you've got going on here. Ah, this here, I like that a lot. Um, yeah, I like your bodies that your body shapes that you've got here. Those are yeah, they're working really nicely. I think there's a lot to work on, and I think that in time that will take care of itself. You're moving in the right direction there. Um, your eyes are the right. They're coming along. You'll get there in time. Actually, while I've got that up, this eye here, tend to put the eyelashes, they're heavier on the top, not so much on the bottom. But you've the same here with this, whatever she is. Um, you can put heavy mascara at the bottom, like that, heavy shape, but it'll look better if you just do it just put it on the top, I think. But again, that's not really an issue. This is going to come along nicely, I think, in time. And as you progress, you'll move forward nicely. The problem is these hands, and can't really draw the shape of the hands because you haven't got any. I'm not going to rag on you too much because at least you've got it started, and that's good. But what you've got going on here with this hand, yeah, it's first of all, you've got the thumb on the wrong side, like so. If you put your hand up and put yourself, actually sit there and put your hands the way that you've got them, with the left hand on top of the right hand on top of the left, this thumb would be inside and unseen. All right, so you've actually managed to split her hand up, unless that's intentional, which I don't think it is, because it just looks very, very wrong. You've got the right number of fingers, that's good, but you've also tried to show every single finger, and I think that's kind of where you've gone askew. So in this one, you've done a familiar trick, which is just, I can't draw hands, I'll hide them behind something. This is a fairly common thing for people. It's sometimes the hand has to go behind the body. Sometimes the hand has to go in the pocket because that's what the pose calls for. But there's a difference between there's a hand that needs to go in the pocket and there's a hand that I can't draw, so I'm going to just hide it. And I think that's what you've got here, but we'll get to that in a minute. Here, this hand, these two hands here, they are much better, but they're fairly obscured by what is going on. I'm not certain what's going on. This looks like either a dagger or a root system for a plant, for this plant here, and she's holding on to it with her hands clasped around it. That's fine. But because she's got the black nails and they're long, it's difficult to tell what's going on there. And I think you could probably make that clearer if you had a better understanding of the hands. And the worst one was, that back, otherwise I'm going to lose all my stuff. Yeah, the worst one was, clear that out, this one here. Not sure what's going on there. I'm guessing he's holding a flower, or but it doesn't look that way. It looks like he's had some sort of accident or congenital defect in his hand. Even I've got the bloody hands around the wrong way now. Yeah. And this one here, yeah, you just sort of stop drawing them. Stop drawing to have to avoid it. So, don't worry about it too much, but that's something you got to work on, is hands, and seeing as how, you seem to have the head's coming along, and the eyes, they'll come in time, and your hair looks like hair, so that's good. And yeah, you're drawing the things that you obviously want to draw. That's pretty cool. But your hands need work, and that's what we're going to work on right now. Now, I did want to show you something just quickly. This is Calvin and Hobbes, which you may or may not know. These hands are absolutely dreadful. Now, Calvin and Hobbes is probably one of the best cartoons, comic strips ever, and these are some of the most expressive characters ever, I think, in my opinion. But these hands, and there's no getting around it, they are the worst. Yeah. Look at that. Ugh. Who would draw a hand like that? Seriously. And Bill Watterson, he even acknowledges that his hands are so poor, because he said he hasn't got time to... He didn't really have time to learn how to draw hands properly, and he didn't have the patience to draw hands properly. So he just drew these kind of cartoonish things, sausages on the end of a block, Look at that. Yikes. That's a hand, seriously? Ugh. Awful. Just awful. But, and this can't be said enough, as awful as they are, they exactly convey exactly what he was trying to convey. They show exactly what he wants to show. They're expressive, and the details of it obviously weren't relative to his overall aesthetic. But yeah, look at that. Ugh. Now if I were to just draw that, excuse me, without any context, or any of these, without any context, yeah, you'd think I'd gone nuts. There's no way that people would draw hands like this. And you never see hands drawn like this except in comic strips, but his hands, like if you look through his books and look through the comic strips themselves, the hands are extremely expressive, and they're awful, but they work within the context of the thing, and it's the expression of the hands. I think he understands how the hands should look, and has just kind of fudged over it for speed, and because he could. So, right, we'll get rid of that one. I'll get rid of Calvin there, because we don't need that anymore. hands belonging to Milt Kahl. Alright. Milt Kahl is an animator from Disney, and if you look online for Milt Kahl hands, I'll write it down for you actually so that you can see it. Milt Kahl. He was an animator for a lot of the early Disney stuff, and Sword in the Stone and Jungle Book and stuff like that. His hands were amazing. They were expressive, they were accurate, they were correct. And one of the things that I really like about them is that they show just how, like, you can really break down the basic shapes of the hands, of which there are two, and I've kind of drawn a few of them here, like drawn over the top of them, but I'll do it for you again. So pretty much the hand is a kind of a tapered box. Right, all of these hands that I've drawn here, you can see the tapered box shape of Milt Kahl's hands. That's the hand. That's the palm of the hand. Let's see. Hang on. I'll just draw this really quickly. If that's the top of the hand, and those are your fingers, that's your thumb, and that's your wrist. Okay, so the top of the hand is the top, and the other side of the hand is the palm, and then you've got the blade of the hand, which is the opposite side to the thumb, which is this side here. And that's the blade of the hand. And think of it as if you were going to do a karate chop, that would be the part that would hit. So, hiya, that's the blade there. And you got your fingers, and yeah, so on. Being able to accurately describe if it's a palm or if it's the flat, the top, that's something that comes in time, but a really good way to do it is to show. Actually, I've got a better one that I drew here. Here we go. Look at that. Here's one that I created earlier. Yeah, so this here is actually how I like to draw fingers in this one, with the tapered going into the knuckle here like that, so that the tips of the fingers are actually wider than the knuckle. That's not correct, and whether you draw it like that or not, that's up to you. This is just how I like to draw them. This here is where the tips of the fingers are wider at the ends, sort of are narrower at the ends, and they taper into the tips, but they start off wider at the knuckle. That is how you tell. Yeah, that's probably more correct. Whether or not it's actually correct, that's a matter of opinion. But yeah, being able to show that which way up the hand is, because as you can see, the thumb is facing both. Right, that's obviously a right hand here. That one there is the right hand, and this one here is the left hand. So you can use your this here, this meaty part of the palm is usually the way that you would tell. Also the fingernails, to tell which way that. So this one's got fingernails, so you're looking at it from top down. This one hasn't, so you're looking at it from bottom up. Da da da, yay. Okay. Scrap those. I'll just erase that because it's not very good. Right. So, Milt. He used these shapes amazingly well, and the shape itself is simply those. He used a box. Now, I don't know if this is what he actually thought of while he was drawing, but it's likely. Okay, so once you've got your box in play, you've got your wrist in play, then you can decide where you want to put, what your fingers, you've got to decide what you want your fingers to be doing and what you want your hands to be doing, what do you want your hands to be expressing. And yeah, that can be the trickiest part. In your one here, specifically, this one, I'm not sure what you're trying to express here. It looks like you've got your character is clasping their hands in fear or something, I don't know. But you've got one hand over the top of the other. So if we try and use the Milt Kahl way of drawing it, you probably have something that looks like that, going down to the wrist like so, wrist, elbow. That's way too big for her. She's got delicate, dainty little handy paws. And what you've done, the mistake you've made here, I think, is these fingers. You've tried to draw in every single one. And you've put the thumb in on the wrong side. And the problem with that is that you'll only ever see all of the fingers and the thumb if you're looking straight top down, like so, right? Ugh. Right, so if you're seeing that, that's fine, you'll see all the fingers. But when it's like this one here, yeah, start with the little finger and yeah, like so. So you wouldn't probably see the thumb at all, and you might see these fingers curled around under the hand, under the blade of the hand here, under the palm. And then what you wouldn't see is any of this stuff, because that's just construction lines. So what we can do is erase and then draw it a little bit better. And that's a bit closer to what you've got with this hand. And then you've got the other hand sitting on top of it, which is I don't know how that's going to look. I'm not sure that my attempt at it's not going to look much better. Ugh, that fingernail's in the wrong place too. Yeah, okay, well, yeah, that's not a great deal better. Anyway, my personal issue is drawing delicate, dainty female hands. I'm not that great at it at all. So, back to Milt. He builds the framework of his hand off a box. It's a slightly tapered box, So if we're looking at it from the front, it's kind of like that. Wider at the top, narrower at the wrist. And then put your forearm in there. Okay, so the length of the hand, the palm, will roughly be the same length as the middle finger. Alright? And the palm is rounded at the top. And the fingers will round also, even if you splay them out, they'll round out. So you can kind of get this sort of shape happening. With the little finger kind of hanging off the side there. Ugh, what am I drawing? And then you've got the thumb, like so. If we put the fingernails in, which is probably the wrong place to put that. Then we can kind of that's why. Sketch that back in and so, yeah, that's basically, I've gone too far again. Yeah, the palm wedge is this, like I said, it's a wedge shape. It tapers at the bottom, and the middle finger is the same length as, so dit to dit, roughly, give or take. And you can test this out on your own hand. You can measure your finger, and it's roughly the same as your palm. From the middle knuckle to the wrist is virtually the same length. Milt's hands, as you can see from these screenshots, these are screen captures that are from The Sword and the Stone mostly, I think. This is the Merlin character. Yeah, his hands were always quite chunky and square, and I dig it. So that's kind of how I've always drawn my hands. This is good for drawing men, it's terrible for drawing women, as women have much more, or well, they don't in reality, but when you're drawing them, you want to make the hands look more tapered at the ends, so that they look more delicate and dainty and actually differentiate your characters. You can't just go drawing women with hands like this because it won't look good, won't look right. Okay. Now, in perspective, or if you turn the hand around, this wedge shape becomes a box, as you can see here with a lot of Milt's drawings. And it tapers. Again, you can see that it tapers. Ugh, that perspective, honestly, what's wrong with me this morning? Like so, alright, and then you put your wrist in like that. Now where you put the wrist and how you choose to draw your wrist, that's up to you. You want it big and chunky, you want it nice and thin like his. I always find that the tiny little wrists are much more cartoony and therefore more fun. Yeah. So you then have to add the thumb. Now that little bump right there, that is a bone that sticks out on everybody's wrist. It is the bone, I don't know the name of it because I never bothered to find out because I'm lazy. But that bone is always there. Okay, it's always on the opposite side of the thumb. So if you've got the bone sitting here on this side, your thumb is going to be over here. Like so. Once we've got the thumb kind of shape in there, okay, so we'll move that out, give ourselves a bit of room. So your fingers from that point, again, it depends on what you've got your fingers doing. If you've got your hands just splayed out like so, first of all, it's very rare to have anybody with splayed out fingers, like, you know, like hardcore splayed out, like this here. Okay, to just sit there with your hands splayed out like that, it's never going to happen. Your hands tend to be relaxed a lot of the time, unless you're actually doing something with them. So being able to draw them in a relaxed manner is fairly important. Now these are not great, because I am not great at drawing hands, because like you, don't spend enough time drawing hands to say that I'm any good at it. And that's because every so often I'll go, oh, my hands are terrible, I need to draw better hands, and I'll break out this exact sheet right here. And I will do exactly what I'm doing right now. I will analyze what Milt does with his hands, and where he puts his wrists, and how he draws the palm wedge, and how he draws his thumb, and where he puts it, and so on. And I will use that as a basis for looking at my own hands. My hands are also very square and chunky. That's why drawing these is actually very useful for me. And
Are you done talking?
no.
No.
No. That's some jerk coming in and ruining my video. Typical. Yeah, these hands right here, these palm wedges, this is mainly what I draw when I'm looking to figure out what he was doing with his shapes. Because that's the hard part. Once you figure out what you want your hand to actually look like, or what you want it to be doing, you know, do you want it to be holding something? You know, here he's holding a pipe. And so once he knows where he wants his hand to be going, then he can just sort of add the fingers in, because he knows where he wants to put the wedge for his palm, for the major form of his hand. The fingers are just kind of hanging off the edge. But you get that good, I imagine, by sketching out like this, practicing, using your own hands as a basis. Find hands that you like the look of that other people have already drawn, is my advice. Because drawing the hand with it being a three-dimensional shape the way that it is, without actually any hard edges, there's no square edges on a hand like this, right? Like this here, there's none of that. So you're kind of simplifying it for yourself, and then putting it in there for you to make it do what you need it to do. You know, do you want your character to be pointing? Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, that's it. I hope that this was a little bit helpful for you. And yeah, keep it up, keep working at it. It is very, very difficult. It is, as I said, everybody struggles with this one at some point. And the question is, do you keep hiding your hands behind your characters' heads, or do you attack it and try stuff out and see what works and what doesn't? Yeah. So these are Milt Kahl, as I said here, Milt Kahl. He's one of the Disney 9 Old Men. And if you do a Google search for Milt Kahl hands, you'll come up with a whole bunch of sheets just like this, filled with his hands. And just print them out and then trace them. You put them on the computer and trace them on the computer so you can see how he's forming the basics of his hands. And then adjust it to suit your style accordingly, and you'll have a much better drawing. I think you get a much better experience out of it. It makes you, it's so hard to get it right, but once you do, it's so rewarding at the same time, and it makes your drawing look so much better. All right, send me some of your pictures, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.